The widow who vomited money. It started the day Mama Ngozi vomited 500 naira notes into the church offering bowl. Not one, not two, but a whole heap of wet, blood-stained notes sliding out of her mouth while the choir was still singing, "You are great, yes you are." The congregation screamed. Some ran out, others fell to their knees, tongues wagging like fire. But one man, Pastor Jide, didn't flinch. He smiled. That was the day the devil came to Ogbanta Street, Lagos. The rumor in Ogbanta Street. Mama Ngozi was a widow who sold pap by the roadside. Everyone pitied her when her husband died from a mysterious sickness that wasted him like candle wax. But what people didn't know was that the night after his burial, her fortunes changed. She stopped selling pap. She started wearing gold bangles. Her wrappers changed every Sunday. And somehow, every time she entered the market, her bag was full, not of food, but of fresh cash. Children whispered. Neighbors gossiped. "She dey do Yahoo?" one woman asked. "No, na money ritual," another hissed. But no one dared to ask her directly. Until the church incident. That Sunday, the whole congregation saw it. The widow lifted her hands during worship, trembling and speaking in tongues, then suddenly clutched her stomach and began to cough. It sounded wet, deep, unnatural. Then came the first note, a folded 500 naira bill soaked in saliva, then another, then dozens. When Pastor Jide saw the money piling in the offering bowl, he called it a divine manifestation. But the ushers refused to touch the cash. They said it smelled of blood. And they were right. Pastor Jide's temptation couldn't sleep that night. The smell of the wet naira still lingered in his mind. He locked the church office and kept the money inside a drawer. But something was strange. Each time he tried to count it, the notes multiplied. 50,000 became 100,000. 100,000 became 200,000. He laughed. "God of abundance," he whispered. But his laughter died when he noticed the notes were warm like living flesh. The next morning, he went to visit Mama Ngozi at her compound. The woman was sitting outside, wearing sunglasses and a silk wrapper. She looked younger, her wrinkles gone. "Pastor," she greeted softly. "You came." Jide nodded. "Mama Ngozi, what happened yesterday? Are you all right?" She smiled, showing clean white teeth that hadn't been that white before. "It is blessing, Pastor. God is finally rewarding me for my suffering." "Blessing?" He glanced at her wrist. The gold bangles looked new. "Yes," she said. "When the spirit comes, I vomit. When I vomit, I prosper." She reached for a plastic bowl under her chair and lifted the lid. Inside were bundles of naira notes, all slightly damp, smelling of blood and mint. Pastor Jide's throat went dry. The secret pact. That night, Pastor Jide couldn't resist. He returned to the church office, opened the drawer and stared at the multiplying money. He knelt and prayed, but halfway through his prayer, he heard a whisper, a woman's voice inside his head. "Do not pray, eat." He froze. The voice came again, louder. "Eat the blessing." He looked at the money. One of the notes twitched like a lizard's tail. Then another crawled, dragging itself across the table. He screamed and slammed the drawer shut. But when he opened it again, everything was normal. The next day, he returned to Mama Ngozi's house. "Mama," he said, sweating, "tell me the truth. How are you doing it?" She smiled faintly. "I didn't beg for it, Pastor. It came after a dream. My husband appeared to me holding a red calabash. He said, 'If you want to stop suffering, swallow this coin.' I did." Her eyes darkened. "And now, the spirit feeds me. When it's full, I vomit the overflow." The feast of money. Weeks passed. People began to notice that the church was richer, the pastor was fatter, and Mama Ngozi had bought a Toyota Corolla. She started attending only special services, sitting in front, always carrying dark sunglasses. Her once trembling hands were now steady, except when she coughed. Each cough brought another miracle. At first it was money, then jewelry. Once it was a small gold chain still dripping with blood. But one Sunday when she vomited again, something else came out. a black pulsing heart. The choir stopped singing. Someone screamed, "Jesus!" The heart twitched on the floor, then dissolved into flies. That was the last time the church saw her alive. 3 days later, police came to her house. She was missing. But when they broke open her door, they found the walls covered in old newspapers and blood-red scribbles. "The coin must feed. Vomit to live. Pastor is next." In her bedroom sat the red calabash, dry, cracked, and empty. Pastor Jide fainted when he saw it. That night he had a dream. He was standing inside the church alone when a voice whispered, "She fed you. Now you feed me." He woke up vomiting coins, 10 naira coins that clanged onto the floor, warm and wet with blood. Pastor Jide locked himself inside his office for 2 days. He couldn't preach, couldn't eat. Every time he opened his mouth to speak, a coin dropped. He called Prophet Moses from Ibadan, a non-deliverance pastor. But when Prophet Moses arrived and began to pray, he too started coughing. First a cough, then a choke, then a coin dropped from his mouth. They both screamed. The widow's laughter echoed from nowhere, soft at first, then louder until it filled the room. The calabash reappeared on the table, glowing red. The sacrifice. Pastor Jide knew what had to be done. The spirit needed a host. He went to the cemetery at midnight, carrying the calabash. He dug up Mama Ngozi's husband's grave and poured palm oil on it. "Take back what you gave," he cried. The ground trembled. The calabash cracked open. And from the grave rose the widow, eyes black, skin gray, mouth dripping coins. "You can't kill a blessing," she hissed. She grabbed him by the neck, forced his mouth open, and coins poured in, suffocating him. By morning, the church was silent. A month later, Ogbonta Street was quiet again. The church gates were locked. A new pastor arrived, claiming God had sent him. But when he opened the church office, he found a box inside the drawer. Inside were bundles of 500 naira notes, perfectly dry, smelling faintly of iron. He smiled and took one note to his nose. God is good." But as he turned to leave, he heard it, a faint cough. He froze. From the drawer came the sound again. "Koof! Koof!" And then a voice, soft, feminine. "You ready to vomit your blessing?"